Truistory Vibes warmly welcomes all our beloved listeners. We're so glad to see you again in our familiar time slot. Today, Truistory Vibes brings you a brand new story, one that we hope will touch your heart and stay with you. As you listen, feel free to leave a comment sharing the quote or moment that left the deepest impression on you. Wishing you a wonderful and meaningful listening experience. Harper Reed wakes before dawn, as she is almost every morning for the past 7 years. In the dim light of her bedroom in Cedar Falls, Oregon, she reaches for her phone and scrolls through a text from her mother-in-law, Louise Trent. "Just checking in, dear. Have you and Cooper heard anything from the doctor?" Harper steels herself, even though nothing her mother-in-law says will ever ease the ache in her chest. She slips into her dress quietly, not wanting to wake Cooper Blaine, her husband of 7 years. Cooper, a 34-year-old obstetrician renowned for his compassion at Cedar Valley Medical Center, deserves to rest. When Harper first met him in medical school, she admired his gentle confidence and bright laugh. But now, beneath that same kindness, she worries there's a shadow of disappointment. In the kitchen, Louise waits at the table already set for breakfast. The aroma of strong coffee mingles with the sharp tang of orange juice. Louise, 50 and still elegant in tailored blouses, surveys her daughter-in-law with a critical eye. "Morning," Harper says softly. She forces a smile as Louise sets a plate of scrambled eggs in front of her. "Good morning," Louise replies briskly. She takes her own seat and folds her hands. "I hear you're seeing Dr. Patel today. I hope this is finally the breakthrough we've all been waiting for." Harper's throat tightens. Each month that passes pushes Louise closer to despair and closer to tension in their relationship. "I'm hopeful," she answers, though she's not sure she believes her own words. Louise's gaze flicks to the empty chair at the head of the table. "Cooper stayed home from work. On call last night," Harper lies. The truth is more complicated. Cooper is exhausted. He spent the early hours of this morning delivering twins at the hospital, then came home to find another frantic call awaiting him. But he's spared the questioning that Harper faces every day. Louise nods, satisfied for the moment, and turns back to her omelet. Harper eats in silence, each bite tasting of salt and anxiety. A gentle knock on the back door signals the arrival of Mrs. Delgado, the neighbor and longtime friend of Harper's family. Mrs. Delgado, a sprightly woman in her 60s, steps inside with a basket of homemade muffins. "I thought you both might like a treat," she says, placing the basket on the counter. She offers Harper a warm smile that carries genuine sympathy. "I know all about your journey." Harper's heart twists. In Cedar Falls, nothing stays secret. Everyone sympathizes, but everyone also watches. Mrs. Delgado pours coffee for Harper and Louise, exchanging small talk about the weather and the church bake sale. Yet Harper can feel the tension unspooling in the tiny kitchen, the unspoken question behind every kind word, every recipe passed over, every hesitant hug. Once Mrs. Delgado bids them farewell, Harper turns to Louise. "Thank you for letting me see Dr. Patel today." Louise sets down her fork and studies Harper's face. "You're doing everything you can. Cooper and I were rooting for you. But we're getting older, and we need that grandchild. Don't you want to give your parents a chance to hold their first grandbaby?" Harper swallows hard, the words stabbing sharper than any medical injection. She closes her eyes for a moment, imagining a tiny child in her arms, and then the cold, empty arms of her mother, waiting in vain. "I do. Every day," she whispers. Louise's expression softens, but only slightly. "Then let's hope this is it. It has to be." She reaches for Harper's hand across the table. "I'm proud of you for going through all these tests, all these treatments. You're brave." Harper forces a nod, lifting her chin. "Thank you, Louise." After breakfast, Cooper emerges from his study, hair mussed, eyes bright with early morning adrenaline. He greets Harper with a tired but genuine smile. She watches the way he kisses her temple, gentle, reassuring, and feels a flare of warmth. For a moment, she almost forgets the emptiness she carries every day. Morning, he murmurs. Ready for round 2? She stands, smoothing her blouse. As ready as I'll ever be. He offers her his arm. As they step onto the porch, Harper inhales the crisp autumn air. The sun is peeking over the trees, promising warmth. Cooper glances at her, worry softening his gaze. We'll get through this, he says. One step at a time.
Harper nods again.
In Cedar Falls, the small town whispers will follow her to Magnolia Fertility Center. But as she walks beside Cooper, she holds onto the gentle tether of his hope, praying that this time, after all the years and all the tests, they will finally bring home a child and silence the pressure that has come to define her life. Harper Reed gripped Cooper Blaine's hand as they stepped through the automatic glass doors of Magnolia Fertility Center. The soft spring sunlight filtered through the skylights, illuminating the polished stone floors and calming aquamarine walls. Harper paused in the main lobby, her heart pounding. Here she was after 7 years of quiet desperation, embarking on the most technical, most hopeful chapter of their journey, in vitro fertilization. Cooper squeezed her hand, offering a reassuring smile that carried both pride and the slightest hint of his own anxiety. They were greeted by Nurse Elliott, who knew them by name and ushered them toward a consultation room under a sign reading Reproductive Endocrinology, Dr. Serena Patel. Harper followed Cooper down a corridor lined with framed photographs of infants and grateful families. Despite her nerves, Harper felt a ripple of comfort in Magnolia's gentle ambience, the odor of eucalyptus diffusers, the distant strains of an acoustic piano, and the unobtrusive hum of air purifiers. Inside the consultation suite, Dr. Patel reviewed Harper's file on a high-resolution touchscreen. She wore a crisp white coat over a teal blouse, her silver hair tucked behind one ear. Harper. Cooper, she said with a warm tone, I've reviewed all your previous records. Harper's anti-Müllerian hormone is lower than average for a 32-year-old, which means fewer eggs. Cooper's sperm analysis is essentially normal. Based on this, I recommend a standard IVF protocol: stimulation, retrieval, fertilization, and then transfer at the blastocyst stage. Harper took a breath, the world narrowing to Dr. Patel's words. She and Cooper had discussed every medical scenario imaginable: canceled cycles, failed transfers, chemical pregnancies, but hearing it outlined so clinically still sent a shiver down her spine. Yes, Harper said softly. We're ready. Over the next 48 hours, Harper underwent baseline testing. She arrived early for blood work, settling into a vinyl chair as a phlebotomist expertly drew vials from her arm. The nurse explained that measuring her estradiol, FSH, and LH levels would guide the stimulation dosage. Then came the first transvaginal ultrasound, which showed 2 small follicles on her left ovary and 1 on her right. Her lining measured a whisper of a few millimeters, perfectly normal for cycle day 2, but a reminder of how much had to change. Back at home in Cedar Falls, Harper mixed her first shot of GnRH agonist. The cool liquid stung briefly beneath her skin, but she focused on Cooper's steady presence beside her. He held the syringe for her on day 2 and day 3. By day 4, she administered it alone at precisely 8 a.m., the red pen marking her thigh growing into a small constellation. Each prick was a reminder that they were in this together. Day 5 brought the first dose of follicle-stimulating hormone. Magnolia's pharmacy had sent pre-filled pens labeled FSH, 150 IU. Harper studied the directions, disinfected a spot on her abdomen, and pressed down until the pen clicked. Cooper wrapped her in a hug afterward, whispering that he knew it wasn't easy. That night, Harper stayed awake, her mind racing through the possibilities: 6 follicles, 8 follicles, maybe none at all. By day 7, they returned for another ultrasound and blood test.
Dr.
Patel sat them down with a gentle expression. Harper, you have 6 follicles measuring between 10 and 12 millimeters, which is encouraging given your ovarian reserve. Your estradiol is rising as expected. Let's increase your FSH dose to 225 IU for the next 2 days and reassess. The breath Harper released sounded louder than she intended. 6 good follicles felt like possibility at last. On day 9, They resumed their morning ritual. Cooper leaving for the hospital at dawn, and Harper in her kitchen, drawing up her own injections. She imagined each dose lodging itself in her ovaries, tiny factories of hope. At noon, his text arrived. Lunch date at Verde Cafe today. New avocado corn salad for you. She smiled, typing back. See you 1:30, and felt the warmth of a shared life. On day 11, Dr. Patel called with crucial timing. Your follicles look ready. Tonight at 8 p.m., administer the HCG trigger shot. Retrieval will be scheduled for 36 hours later at 9 a.m. Nurse Chun took extra time to demonstrate the trigger technique, drawing up the medication, ensuring Harper rotated injection sites, and watching her practice under the bright exam room lights. Harper's hands trembled, but she nailed the injection on the first try. Cooper kissed her forehead when she texted him the news. That's my brave girl, his reply read. The early morning of retrieval, Harper arrived at Magnolia in a hospital gown. Cooper held her hand in the pre-op area, monitoring his own phone alerts for emergencies at Cedar Valley. An anesthesiologist introduced herself, promising a calm sedation. Harper blinked up at the bright lights and then drifted into a painless haze. When she awoke in the recovery suite, Cooper sat beside her, his mask off now that the procedure was complete. He held a paper towel with faint traces of blood and offered her a sip of water. We got 8 eggs, he said, eyes glistening. Harper's heart soared. 8 gifts they had coaxed out of her body. Over the next 48 hours, they lived between visits to Magnolia and quiet home rests. Each morning Harper checked her phone for updates. Day 1. All 8 fertilized normally. Day 3. 5 are at 8 cells. Day 5. 3 have reached blastocyst. The lab's messages felt like whispered miracles. Transfer day arrived on day 16. Arriving at the clinic once more, Harper lay on the exam table as an embryologist handed Dr. Patel the catheter carrying a single high-quality blastocyst. Under ultrasound, the embryo glided into Harper's uterine cavity. The procedure took less than 10 minutes. Cooper and Harper watched the monitor flicker before Parker's soft voice said, "It's done. Now we wait." For the next 2 weeks, Harper and Cooper tiptoed around pregnant care protocols at home. Harper refrained from lifting heavy laundry baskets. Cooper cooked nutrient-rich dinners. Evenings were spent sipping herbal tea on their porch, whispering low-pressure words of encouragement. Neighbors nodded kindly, careful with congratulations. On day 14 post-transfer, Harper returned for her beta HCG test. Blood drawn again, she and Cooper waited in a private consult room. When Dr. Patel's call came, "Harper, you're positive. Your level is 420 inch." The tears sprang unbidden. Cooper pulled her into a fierce hug. After years of setbacks, they finally heard the news they'd dreamed of. That evening, Harper and Cooper sat on their living room floor, leaning against each other, sipping sparkling apple cider. Outside, the cherry trees along their street swayed in a gentle breeze. Cooper pressed a soft kiss to Harper's cheek. "We did it," he murmured. Harper studied his face, so full of love and cautious hope. She closed her eyes, letting the moment wash over her in a tide of fragile joy. For the first time in years, Harper believed that soon, their home would echo with the laughter of a child, proof that their perseverance at Magnolia Fertility Center had been worth every injection, every ultrasound, and every flutter of anxious hope. Harper Reed floated home on a cloud of cautious optimism after learning she was pregnant. For the first time in years, she allowed herself to envision nursery walls painted soft lavender. The sound of a cooing baby in the next room, Cooper Blaine's steady hand guiding her through midnight feedings. That evening, as she and Cooper shared a simple dinner of roasted salmon and vegetables on their cozy Cedar Falls porch, she felt the tension of the past 7 years begin to melt away. Yet the very next morning, Harper's world cracked open in ways she never imagined. She had risen early, nerves fluttering like butterflies, determined to start prenatal vitamins and prepare a chart to track her morning sickness. Cooper, on his way out the door for rounds at Cedar Valley Medical Center, kissed her forehead and promised to pick up coffee. After he left, Harper turned to their shared home office. Just yesterday, she'd been too busy celebrating to notice the slim envelope tucked beneath Cooper's laptop bag. Now, on impulse, she brushed aside a stack of medical journals and saw it. A crisp, white envelope addressed simply to A. Sinclair. Harper's heart skipped. Ava Sinclair had been the name of Cooper's college girlfriend, published in old yearbooks, spoken fondly by mutual friends. Her pulse thundered as she slit the envelope open. Inside lay several glossy photographs, one of a dimly lit apartment hallway, a hand offering a single red rose, another of Cooper, suit jacket draped over one shoulder, laughing with a woman whose cropped hair and nose ring struck a familiar silhouette. More pictures followed, Cooper and Ava, hand in hand in a downtown Portland park, leaning in for a kiss, so tender that Harper felt breathless, just imagining it. That wasn't all. Beneath the photos lay a small, leather-bound journal. Harper flipped it open, skimming the elegant, looping script. Each entry began with a date. April 2nd. I missed you so much I could hardly breathe. April 16th. The way you looked at me last night, I feel like I'm falling in love all over again. Her vision blurred. She sank into the desk chair, hands trembling. How had she missed this? Cooper had always been loving, attentive, yet somehow distant in the small, lingering silences she'd chalked up to exhaustion. 7 years of hoping for a family, every doctor's appointment shared, every injection administered side by side. Had he been building a secret bridge to someone else all along? Determined to uncover the truth, Harper grabbed her coat and keys. She would not wait for Cooper to explain. She needed answers now. Outside, the crisp morning air bit at her cheeks, but she barely noticed as she hurried to her car. Ignoring her usual caution, she typed Ava Sinclair Portland into her phone's map app and drove toward northeast Portland, her heart hammering. The address brought her to a modest brick townhouse tucked behind a row of cherry trees. The front windows were frosted, but Harper's breath caught when she saw the nameplate. Ms. A. Sinclair. She parked across the street, hands shaking so badly she almost dropped her phone. Moments later, a familiar sedan pulled into the driveway. Cooper's gray Volvo. His face softened as he stepped out, keys jingling in his pocket. Harper pressed herself against a wrought iron fence, watching him slip inside. She waited a beat, too stunned to move, then circled to the side door. A single, silent bell chimed. A woman's voice behind the door startled Harper. "Hello." Harper's mouth went dry. "Ava?" she managed to whisper. The door cracked open. Ava Sinclair's dark eyes widened, recognition blooming. "Harper." Heat flushed Harper's cheeks. "Why is Cooper here?" Ava swallowed. "He said he needed to talk." "I thought. After everything I've done for him? After we—" Harper's voice wavered with anger and hurt. "Did you know he was married?" Ava's gaze fell. I didn't know about the baby plans. I thought we'd broken up years ago." Harper pressed forward. "The journal. The photos. Did he tell you about our IVF process? Did he say a word?" Ava stepped back, panic in her eyes. "Harper, he said he was unhappy. He said you two were drifting apart. He never said you were trying to have a baby." "Drifting apart?" Harper whispered, horror and betrayal cutting deeper than any medical setback. "He told me we were a team." Ava shook her head, tears welling. "I didn't want this. I loved him, but I never meant to hurt you." Harper's chest heaved. She wanted to scream, to break something. Instead, she turned and walked away, shoulders shaking. She flagged down a passing bus and boarded without looking back, the town blurring past tear-streaked windows. When she reached home, Riverside Drive felt like a ghost street. Cooper's Volvo sat parked under the cherry trees, untouched since morning. Harper pounded on the front door, her voice raw. Cooper answered, stunned. "Harper." She stepped inside, tears spilling down her cheeks. "Why, Cooper? Why didn't you tell me?" Cooper's face drained of color. He closed the door behind her. "Harper, Save it," she snapped. "I found everything. Photos, the journal, Ava's address. How long? How many times have you been here? Cooper ran a hand through his hair, voice trembling. Only a few times. We tried to see if things could be different. Different? Harper's voice rose. You were going to give up on me, on our baby? He took a step forward.
No.
I never wanted to give up on you.
She
held up the leather journal. Then what is this? Your promises to her. Your kisses in Portland parks. Cooper's hands shook. I'm sorry. I was confused. IVF, we were both so stressed. I felt helpless. Ava and we fell into old patterns. But it didn't mean anything. Harper's world tilted. Not meant anything? You betrayed my trust, attacked my heart and mind. I thought we were partners. Tears streamed down Cooper's face. I know. I'm so sorry. I never meant to hurt you. Harper backed away, tears and anger coursing through her. I can't do this, she whispered. I need time. Cooper reached out, but she shook her head and fled into their bedroom. She collapsed on their bed, burying her face in the pillow. The betrayal rang louder than any medical alarm. After every injection, every scan, every hopeful moment, he had built a secret life with someone else. That night, Cooper did not come to bed. Harper lay awake, staring at the ceiling. The moonlight cast soft patterns across the room, mocking in its serenity. How had she missed the clues? The late-night texts, the carefully concealed receipts. The pain of heartbreak mingled with fear for her pregnancy. In the morning, Harper awoke to silence. Her phone buzzed, a message from Dr. Patel, her first prenatal appointment reminder. Her body still carried life, while her marriage lay in ruins. She sat up, pulling sheets around her. The journal lay on her nightstand. She considered burning it, shredding it, anything to erase the evidence. But she knew she couldn't. Those pages held the truth. Instead, she picked up her phone and called her best friend, Emily Delgado. Emily, I need you, she said, her voice cracking. Everything's fallen apart. As Emily's voice reassured her, Harper stood at the window, hand on her belly. She drew a shaky breath. The journey ahead, through betrayal, IVF, pregnancy, and single motherhood, would test her in ways she never imagined. But even in her darkest moment, she resolved to protect the life inside her, no matter the personal cost. Because some promises, like the one she'd made to her unborn child, were worth fighting for, even when everyone else had failed her. Harper Reed woke just before dawn, mind racing with the resolve she had not felt since the day she first learned of her infertility. The night before had been a whirlwind of betrayal. Photographs of Cooper Blaine slipping into Ava Sinclair's Portland townhouse at midnight, journal entries confessing his rekindled passion for a former college flame, credit card statements for fine dining bills at restaurants Harper had never visited, and dozens of text messages. I miss you more each day. I can't stop thinking about last night. Can we meet again tomorrow? All time-stamped during her most vulnerable IVF cycle. Rather than collapse under the weight of deception, Harper felt a fierce fire ignite within her. She owed her unborn child a life of security and truth, not lies. She moved methodically to her home office, sliding her laptop onto the mahogany desk. The screen's glow revealed neatly organized folders, journal excerpts, photographic evidence, financial records, text logs. Each digital folder contained carefully redacted but unmistakable proof of Cooper's duplicity. Over the past 24 hours, Harper had painstakingly scanned pages of the leather-bound journal, snapped high-resolution photographs of his credit card receipts, and exported message histories from Cooper's unlocked smartphone. Every piece clicked into place like the final pieces of a legal puzzle. She took a steadying breath, opened a blank document, and began drafting her evidence summary, an itemized list that would form the backbone of her forthcoming legal actions. Journal entries, August 31 dated pages of intimate confessions, each signaling a secret affair. Photographs, April 12th, May 5th, June 21st. Cooper's face in mid-laugh, hand in hand with Ava Sinclair at Harvest Moon Bistro. Credit card statements, February-June. Hotel charges at Cedar Park Suites totaling $3,240. Dinner bills exceeding $2,800. Text correspondence, Mar, August 412 messages, including time-stamped exchanges detailing their clandestine meetings. By 6:30 a.m., Harper had printed 2 complete sets of documents, one for her attorney, one for the press. She assembled these into 3-ring binders labeled Exhibit A, Ethical Violations, and Exhibit B, Emotional Cruelty. She then dressed in a tailored navy pantsuit, clothes that said professional survivor rather than hurt spouse. At 8 a.m., she arrived at the downtown Salem law offices of Thompson and Reyes. The lobby's cool marble floor and modern art installations offered a stark contrast to the emotional battle Harper was about to wage. Maya Thompson, a respected family law attorney with a reputation for fierce advocacy, greeted her in the conference room. Harper placed her binders on the polished table. Maya flipped through them, her brow furrowing with each turn. "This is comprehensive," Maya said quietly. "We can file for divorce on cruelty and infidelity grounds. Your medical records confirm your IVF cycle. And these show Mr. Blaine's betrayal occurred concurrently. We'll request sole physical custody, supervised visitation, temporary spousal support, and child support. We can also file for an injunction to freeze all joint assets. He won't be able to touch your bank accounts." Harper nodded, heart pounding. "I want him held accountable. I want stability for our child." "Agreed," Maya replied. "And we'll need an immediate hearing for temporary orders. I'll draft the complaint today." By mid-morning, Harper had signed a retainer agreement and watched Maya's team scan her binders into the firm's secure server. Next, Harper reached out to Jamie Lynn, an investigative reporter at the Salem Gazette. At noon, she met Jamie in a private corner of Café Riverview, a discreet coffee shop overlooking the Willamette River. Harper handed over a sanitized USB drive containing PDF copies of her evidence, accompanied by a written statement. "After 7 years of IVF treatments, I discovered my husband's secret affair, conducted alongside my fertility cycle. Patients trust their doctors implicitly.
I trusted mine.
I believe the community deserves to know the truth." Jamie's eyes widened as she reviewed the files. "I'll verify these with legal counsel and Magnolia Fertility Center's leadership. If everything checks out, we run an exclusive by tomorrow evening." True to her word, the Gazette published the front-page story the following day under this headline: "OB-GYN's secret affair and ethical breach rock local medical community. Dr. Cooper Blaine placed on leave. Oregon Medical Board opens misconduct investigation. Magnolia Fertility Center launches internal review." Public reaction was swift and merciless. Emails flooded Cedar Valley Medical Center's ethics committee inbox. Patients canceled appointments, demanding refunds. On Cooper's voicemail, messages alternating between shock and anger piled up. "How could you betray your own wife? I need to find a new doctor." Meanwhile, Magnolia Fertility Center released a statement expressing profound concern and pledging a thorough internal investigation. Cooper's name, once synonymous with compassionate care, became a warning whispered at parenting support groups. Back at home, Harper arranged her binders chronologically, preparing for the next phase. She filed her complaint for dissolution of marriage that afternoon, seeking sole physical custody of her unborn child, supervised visitation for Cooper, temporary spousal support of $5,000 per month, child support of $2,500 per month, exclusive use of the family home, injunction prohibiting Cooper's access to joint assets. Cooper's attorney countered within 24 hours, requesting joint custody and arguing that Cooper's expression of remorse merited a more lenient arrangement. Maya filed a robust opposition, citing the severity of Cooper's professional ethics probe and the emotional damage to Harper. A hearing for temporary orders was set 2 weeks out. Amid this legal maelstrom, Harper found unexpected solidarity with her mother-in-law, Louise Trent. Louise, who had once pressured Harper relentlessly about producing a grandchild, showed up at the front door bearing casserole dishes and apologetic tears. "I'm so sorry I ever doubted you," Louise said, pulling Harper into a hug. "You've been through so much. I want you both to know I'm here for you." That evening, they painted the nursery soft mint green, assembling a crib embroidered with golden whales. In Louise's quiet support, Harper felt a balm on her wounded spirit, proof that not all ties to Cooper were irreparably tainted. On the day of the temporary orders hearing, Harper walked into the Marion County family court clad in her navy suit, her OB-GYN appointment ring glinting on her finger and a leather binder clutched to her chest. Cooper sat across from her, his dark suit a pale reminder of their once bright future. Judge Marcia Linwood entered with a deliberate calm, greeting counsel and parties before delving into the motions. Maya presented her case. The IVF timeline correlated precisely with Cooper's clandestine rendezvous, his professional license and community trust lay in tatters. Harper's emotional distress was documented and ongoing. She emphasized the Oregon Medical Board's formal misconduct inquiry. Cooper's counsel delivered a brief defense, asserting Cooper's genuine remorse and desire to co-parent responsibly. The judge listened, taking notes. After a tense 15 minutes, Judge Linwood spoke in measured tones. Given Dr. Blaine's betrayal of marital trust during fertility treatments, the concurrent professional ethics investigation, and the credible risk to the child's welfare, the court grants Ms. Reed sole physical custody.
Dr.
Blaine is granted supervised visitation once weekly. Temporary spousal support is set at $5,000 per month, child support at $2,500 per month, payable within 14 days. An injunction is placed on Dr. Blaine's access to any joint financial accounts. A hush fell. Cooper sank back, eyes hollow. Harper closed her binder, relief and sorrow mingling in her chest. She had won her temporary orders, but the final divorce hearing and full custody determination still loomed. In the days following, Harper attended a support group for single expectant parents, led by counselor Ruth Alvarez. Surrounded by others who navigated abandonment, medical trauma, and financial strain, Harper found solace and purpose. When her turn came, she described her 7-year struggle, the crushing betrayal, and the legal battle she had mounted. When she finished, the group offered a standing ovation. Harper realized her pain could be a beacon for others. Professional consequences for Cooper escalated rapidly. The Gazette published a follow-up exposé. Irregularities in his billing and prescription records at Magnolia Fertility Center, prompting the Oregon Medical Board to suspend his license. His private practice staff resigned en masse. The office closed its doors. Cooper Blaine, once a pillar of local medicine, had become a cautionary tale. Within 2 months, the final divorce decree was signed, confirming Harper's sole custody and support arrangements. Cooper's supervised visits took place in a neutral visitation center, a far cry from the warm family home they had once shared. Harper ensured each visit was safe and monitored, honoring the court's terms while focusing on her burgeoning life as a single mother. On a crisp November morning, Harper stood on her porch with Louise Trent, the Cascade foothills ablaze with autumn color behind them. She held her belly, feeling a gentle kick. Louise squeezed her arm. "You've built a brighter future for both of you," she said, voice thick with emotion. Harper smiled, tears glinting. "We did it," she whispered. The fierce counterattack she had launched, legally, publicly, and emotionally, had reclaimed her agency, secured her child's well-being, and dismantled the legacy of deception Cooper had built.
Now,
as golden leaves drifted down the quiet street of Cedar Falls, Harper faced the future with unwavering courage and hope, assured that no betrayal could ever again dim the protective light she shone for her family. Harper Reed settled into her new routine as a single mother-to-be: prenatal yoga at dawn, midday consultations with her therapist, Ruth Alvarez, and tranquil evenings painting her nursery in soft mint and dove gray. Between supervised visits from Cooper, now a shadow of his former self, and weekend support meetings, Harper's life found a delicate balance. Yet beneath her composed exterior, an ache lingered, a longing for the person she once was before heartbreak. One crisp October morning, Harper decided to visit her childhood hometown of Riverbend, a small community tucked along the Tumwater River. She had not been home since her family moved to Cedar Falls when she was 16. Memories of sunlit riverbanks, golden-hued maple leaves, and carefree afternoons with her first love, Ethan Palmer, flooded back. With Louise's encouragement, Harper booked a weekend stay at her family's lakeside cabin. As the train chugged from Salem to Riverbend, Harper stared out the window, watching dense fir forests give way to open fields and bobbing hay bales. She reflected on the life she had constructed, a growing belly, the legal victory, new friends, yet recognized how much she had lost of her younger self. She yearned for closure with her past, for the chance to rekindle the warmth of a love untainted by betrayal. At the Riverbend Depot, the station master, Mr. Caldwell, tipped his cap. "Well, if it isn't little Harper Reed," he said, his voice rough with age and familiarity. "Haven't seen you back in years." Harper offered a polite smile. "Just for the weekend, Mr. Caldwell. I needed to come home." The taxi ride to her family's cabin carried Harper past the old baseball diamond where she and Ethan had spent countless summers. The scoreboard still stood, its numbers faded. Home. 0824, visitors. 0722. She closed her eyes, remembering Ethan's triumphant laughter when she hit a home run and he scooped her into a wet, muddy hug. Arriving at the cabin, Harper found it much as she remembered. Weathered cedar siding, a wraparound porch strewn with Adirondack chairs, and a rickety swing overlooking the lake. She unlocked the front door and was greeted by the faint scent of cedar and the soft hum of a ceiling fan. Inside, the furnishings were the same: an old stone fireplace, a patchwork quilt on the couch, and a wall-mounted clock that ticked loudly in the quiet. For a moment, Harper simply stood in the doorway, letting the nostalgia wash over her. That evening, Harper stoked the fireplace and brewed a cup of chamomile tea. The cabin's hush felt comforting, like stepping into a cocoon of her own making. She scrolled through old photos on her phone, images of teenage Harper and Ethan grinning, arms slung around each other at school dances, at the county fair, and by the river. A bittersweet ache settled in her chest. She realized that before she had loved and lost Cooper, she had loved Ethan in a way unencumbered by secrets or desperation. Sleep eluded her until well after midnight. At 3 a.m., Harper finally drifted off, only to wake an hour later to the creak of the floorboards. She sat up, heart pounding, and saw a tall figure standing in the doorway, silhouetted against the moonlit porch. "Ethan," she whispered. He stepped forward, rubbing his eyes. "Harper? Is that really you?" His voice was gentle, but edged with disbelief. Harper recognized his faded navy baseball cap and the familiar set of his shoulders. In that moment, all her defenses dissolved. They embraced in the flickering firelight. Ethan's arms felt both old and new around her. "I heard you were back," he said as they sat side by side on the couch. "Town's buzzing that you're here." I had to see for myself." Harper nodded, wiping her eyes. "After everything, I needed to come home." The words tumbled out as she explained her pregnancy, her betrayal, Cooper's downfall, and her legal victory. Ethan listened, silent and supportive, offering only nods and the occasional, "I'm so sorry." By sunrise, they walked the dew-dappled trail to the riverbank. The crisp air carried the scent of pine and water. Ethan helped Harper swing gently on the riverside swing, her belly lapped beneath the seat. "You're going to be an amazing mother," he said softly. Harper didn't respond immediately. She simply closed her eyes and leaned into Ethan's warmth. Over breakfast in town at May's Diner, their table overlooking Main Street, Harper and Ethan talked for the first time in over a decade. She heard of his career as a wildlife photographer, traveling the Pacific Northwest, and his recent return to Riverbend to care for his aging grandfather. His eyes still held that spark of kindness and curiosity that had enamored her as a teenager. Harper realized that time had matured Ethan but not diminished the qualities she had loved most: his empathy, his integrity, and his quiet humor. The next afternoon, Ethan accompanied Harper to the old baseball field. He'd found the aluminum bats in the dugout and dusted them off. "Come on," he urged, handing her a helmet. She gripped the bat awkwardly, still feeling fragile from her recent legal and emotional battles. Ethan pitched gently, slow, underhanded lobs that allowed her to focus on the rhythm. Harper swung tentatively at first, then, with growing confidence, she cracked the ball, and it arced over first base. Ethan jogged out to retrieve it, returning it with a triumphant grin. "Just like old times," he said. Harper laughed, the sound bright and unguarded. As dusk settled, Harper confided in Ethan her fear of being a single mom, worried about judgment in Cedar Falls, about raising a child without a partner. Ethan listened, then reached across the bench, pressing a hand over hers. "You are stronger than you know. You fought for your child, every step of this journey. That's the mark of a parent who will give everything to their kid. And you won't be alone. You have friends, family, and well, you have me." Harper looked into his eyes and saw sincerity and caring. The walls around her heart, torn down by Cooper's betrayal, felt ready for repair. In Ethan's presence, she sensed the possibility of new beginnings, of bringing her child into a world with people she trusted implicitly. That evening, as they strolled along the moonlit lake shore, Harper slipped her hand into Ethan's. Water lapped gently at their feet, and the stars reflected in the silvered surface. "What happens after I give birth?" she asked. Ethan paused, choosing his words. "I'll help however you need. Babysitting, late-night calls, anything. If you want more, if you want to see where this goes. I'd like that, but only if you're ready." Harper smiled, the weight of the past week's trials lifting. "I'm ready to try," she said. "But I need to keep my focus on the baby first." Ethan nodded. "Whatever timeline you choose." In that calm agreement, Harper recognized respect and partnership, qualities she had waited years to find. Over the next weekend, Harper and Ethan revived old traditions: homemade pizzas by the fireplace, road trips to the covered bridge for apple picking, and clear conversations about hopes and boundaries. Each moment knitted her wounded spirit back together. She felt hope blooming again. A love reborn not as a naive teen, but as a strong woman shaped by adversity. On her last morning in Riverbend, Harper packed her bags with a renewed sense of purpose. Ethan drove her to the station. Before she boarded the train, he handed her a small wooden pendant carved in the shape of a whale, matching the nursery's mobile motif. "For you and the baby," he said, "to remember that first loves can endure, transformed by time." Harper clasped the pendant around her neck. "Thank you," she whispered, emotion thick in her voice. They embraced under the golden autumn leaves, a promise of reconnection in each other's arms. Back in Cedar Falls, Harper returned to her life with fresh determination. She resumed her support group meetings, prenatal yoga, and nursery preparations with renewed vigor. She updated her friends. "Riverbend was incredible. Ethan and we're going to give this a chance." Their faces brightened at the news. Louise folded her into a hug, the family circle expanding once more. As Harper rested in her rocking chair that evening, the wooden whale pendant glinting at her collarbone, she felt peace. Her first love had returned, not to replace the past, but to enrich her future, offering partnership grounded in trust and respect. She looked at her belly, murmuring to her unborn child, "Mommy's got a big heart for you, sweetheart, and so does Dad." With each flutter inside her, Harper knew that despite every trial, love, real love, had truly come home again. Harper Reed opened her eyes to the soft glow of dawn filtering through pale mint curtains. The nursery's mobile, a parade of wooden whales and stars, swung gently above her mattress, prompting a tired but genuine smile. Today marked 38 weeks of pregnancy, and she could feel the baby's kicks strengthening within her womb. Each movement echoed the promise of new life and the triumph of love over adversity. Taking a deep breath, Harper rose from bed and stretched, mindful of every graceful pose in her prenatal yoga routine. Her body, once tense with anxiety and heartbreak, now moved fluidly, buoyed by optimism and purpose. After dressing in comfortable linen pants and a soft white blouse, Harper settled at the small oak writing desk beside the window. A steaming mug of chamomile tea sat on a coaster painted with a quote from Maya Angelou: "You may encounter many defeats, but you must not be defeated." Harper gazed down at her manuscript. From shattered trust to unbreakable joy, where she had chronicled every chapter of her journey, the bitter years of infertility treatments, the agonizing revelation of her husband's betrayal, her eventual divorce, and the rekindled love with her first sweetheart, Ethan Palmer. This final section, Complete Bliss, would capture the sacred hours leading to her daughter's birth and the harmonious life she now embraced with co-parent Cooper Blaine. By late morning, Harper was joined in the home's sunlit kitchen by Louise Trent, her mother-in-law turned steadfast ally. Louise arrived with a wicker basket filled with freshly baked scones and jars of homemade preserves. "I thought we could have a little tea celebration," Louise said, her eyes crinkling with warmth. As they sipped tea on the sun porch overlooking a backyard filled with early spring blooms, Louise placed a gentle hand on Harper's shoulder. "You've built something truly remarkable," she said softly. "I'm so proud of you, of us." Harper felt tears prick her eyelids. "Thank you," she replied. "I couldn't have done any of this without your support." Louise nodded, her own eyes glistening. They sat in comfortable silence, listening to the hum of honeybees among the lilac bushes. In the afternoon, Cooper Blaine arrived for his Saturday visit. Over the past few months, the tension that once defined their interactions had completely dissolved, replaced by a shared devotion to their unborn child. Cooper entered carrying a wooden growth chart ruler engraved with Lily's journey and topped with small decals of whales, Harper's chosen nursery motif. He set the ruler against the nursery wall, then turned to Harper with a bright smile. "I thought this would be a fun way to track her first years," he said, handing her the measuring tool. Harper's breath caught. "It's perfect," she said. She pressed a hand to her belly. "Thank you for everything." Cooper placed his hand atop hers, their fingers interlacing. "We're partners in this," he said quietly. "Always." His eyes were earnest, free of any of the guilt and rage that had once scorched their relationship. They spent the afternoon finalizing details for Lily's impending arrival. They reviewed the hospital bag checklist, practiced swaddling techniques on a baby doll, and tested out the co-sleeper bassinet in Harper's bedroom. Dr. Serena Patel had insisted that Harper labor in the hospital to ensure both mother and baby remained safe. At 4:30 p.m., they convened in the dining room for a light meal: grilled salmon, steamed asparagus, and quinoa salad prepared by Harper, and talked about names, colors, and hopes for their daughter's future. By early evening, Harper felt a steady, rhythmic tightening in her abdomen. She glanced at the clock. 6:15 p.m. contraction, she said softly. Cooper's expression shifted instantly from relaxed co-parent to alert protector. He put down his fork. "Time?" he asked. Harper pressed her hand to her belly. "About 5 minutes apart." He stood and offered her his arm. "Let's time them for a bit, then we'll head to the hospital." As they moved to the living room, Harper leaned on Cooper's shoulder for support, the contractions growing stronger. Louise appeared in the hallway, having overheard. Without a word, she took Harper's overnight bag from its place by the front door and handed it to Cooper. "I'll stay here until you return," Louise said. "Call me if you need anything." Harper hugged Louise tightly. "Thank you, Mom," she whispered. The drive to Cedar Valley Medical Center was swift. Cooper navigated the roads with calm focus, never once speeding. Harper felt the new mother's determination surge through her. She was ready. Upon arrival, the hospital staff greeted them like old friends, nurses who had supported Harper through her first pregnancy test and fetal scans. Dr. Patel was waiting, her face lighting up with reassurance. "All set?" she asked. Harper nodded, gripping Cooper's hand. They proceeded to Labor and Delivery Suite 7, where soft instrumental music played and dimmed lights created a calming environment. Over the next few hours, Harper labored steadily. Dr. Patel and the nursing team coached her through each contraction, breathing techniques, changing positions, back massages from Cooper. He whispered words of encouragement into her ear. "You're doing great, love. Soon we'll see her face." Despite the pain, Harper felt the waves of contractions empower her, a reminder of the strength within her body. At 2:43 a.m., after 10 hours of labor, Harper's final push brought Lily into the world. A single, sharp cry pierced the air. Harper wept as the pediatric nurse placed Lily on her chest, cleaned and swaddled. The baby's eyes, wide and curious, reflected the gentle glow of the room lights. Cooper's grip tightened on Harper's hand as he bent to kiss her forehead. "She's perfect," he said, voice choked with emotion. The room felt suspended in bliss. No past betrayals, no future worries. Only the miraculous new life cradled in their arms. That morning, father, mother, and newborn were discharged from the hospital. They returned home in the soft light of dawn, Cooper carrying a sleeping Lily while Harper followed, clutching her postpartum care bag. Louise stood on the porch, arms outstretched. "Welcome home, my babies," she said. They stepped onto the porch together, 3 generations linked by love and resilience. In the weeks that followed, life settled into its new normal. Harper navigated breastfeeding and sleepless nights with grace, supported by Cooper, who handled diaper changes and gentle lullabies when Lily fussed. They kept a shared baby journal, noting milestones like her first smile at 2 weeks, her first coo at 1 month, and her first full night's sleep at 10 weeks. Each entry was a celebration of parenthood's joys. Meanwhile, Harper's memoir was scheduled for publication. At a private launch event in a local bookstore, she read a passage that ended with Lily's birth. "In the darkest night, I found dawn, and in my pain, I discovered purpose. Now, cradling this tiny hand, I know love's true power, to mend, to heal, to transform." The crowd responded with a standing ovation. Cooper and Louie. As Lily turned 1, Harper and Cooper hosted a garden party in their backyard. Lilac and peach decorations filled the air. A tiered cake adorned with edible flowers waited on a picnic table. Guests gathered, family, friends, neighbors, to watch Lily's first steps. Held by Cooper's hands, then Harper's, Lily tottered forward, laughter breaking across the garden. Louise and Ethan, who had traveled from Riverbend, cheered alongside neighbors. The scene felt like a living tapestry of second chances and enduring love. That evening, as lanterns were lit and dusk settled, Harper stood quietly to one side, cradling Lily asleep in her arms. She watched Cooper swing Lily gently overhead, her laughter echoing under the string lights. Harper's heart swelled with gratitude. She remembered her darkest days, alone in hospital hallways, tears tracking down her face, and marveled at the journey's end in this soft, honeyed moment of perfect family. Harper stepped forward and joined them. Cooper lifted Lily to her mother's shoulder and stepped back to wrap his arms around Harper's waist. They gazed at their daughter together, a testament to love's resilience. "Our greatest gift," Harper whispered. Cooper rested his forehead against hers. "Our greatest victory," he replied. As the night breeze rustled the oak leaves above, Harper lifted Lily in a gentle sway and began to hum a lullaby, an old melody passed down from her own mother. Cooper joined in, harmonizing softly. The garden lights glowed like fireflies. In that moment, Harper realized her story had come full circle, from betrayal and despair to forgiveness, renewal, and abiding happiness. Here, surrounded by family and friends, under a sky studded with stars, Harper embraced the truth that complete bliss is not the absence of hardship, but the triumph of love and unity over every storm. And so, with tiny fingers curled around hers and Cooper's hand steady on her hip, Harper Reed welcomed the rest of her life, an unfolding tale of family, hope, and enduring joy, knowing that nothing could dim the light they had ignited together. Cooper Blaine stared at the rows of empty chairs in his now-abandoned fertility clinic office, the late afternoon sun casting long shadows across the faded carpeting. Once a model physician praised for his bedside manner and commitment to patient care, he was now persona non grata, his license suspended, his reputation in tatters. The walls, once hung with accolades and framed degrees, were bare, removed by hospital administrators who sought to distance themselves from scandal. Cooper's fingers trembled as he lifted a single gold plaque from the desk. Excellence in Reproductive Medicine. He traced the engraving with a trembling fingertip. The letters seemed to mock him now. His mind drifted back to that first sleepless night after the Gazette exposé hit the newsstands. He had sunk to the floor of his living room, cradling the article in shaking hands. Headline after headline: OB-GYN's secret affair during IVF cycle. Oregon Medical Board launches misconduct probe. Patients left heartbroken, betrayed. He remembered the rush of phone calls from former patients, some weeping, some furious, demanding refunds, angry about canceled treatments, charging he had abused their trust. His private practice's answering machine overflowed with voicemails labeling him monster and leech. Since then, every day had been a relentless gauntlet. The Oregon Medical Board's preliminary hearing had found probable cause on multiple counts: breach of professional ethics, emotional harm to his wife and patients, and misuse of clinical resources for personal rendezvous. They suspended his license indefinitely while a full disciplinary review commenced. The hospital revoked his admitting privileges. Colleagues refused to answer his calls. His bank put a freeze on his accounts due to pending lawsuits. Cooper's once sturdy identity as a healer had crumbled into ruin. Meanwhile, Ava Sinclair, the woman at the heart of his downfall, faced her own reckoning. The morning after the story broke, her doorbell rang incessantly. Reporters and neighbors crowded onto her porch in Portland, cameras trained on the crisp lines of her designer jacket. "Miss Sinclair, any comment? Were you aware Dr. Blaine was married?" Inside, Ava huddled in her living room, phone off the hook and curtains drawn. She had thought her relationship with Cooper was private, nothing more than two consenting adults finding solace in one another's company. But she had underestimated how fiercely betrayal resonates when it involves broken vows and budding families. Ava's fiancé, an engineer stationed overseas, received the news via forwarded emails from colleagues. Within hours, she faced a torrent of messages. "Do you still love him? What about your commitment? Shame on you." His silence lasted 2 days before he sent a single line: "I can't trust you." He broke off their engagement via text. Devastated, Ava moved out of her stylish downtown condo into her mother's modest guest room, where she spent weeks sleeping in tears, haunted by images of Cooper with Harper and Lily. Financial fallout followed. Ava had jointly leased the condo with a roommate, and the breaking of her lease incurred thousands in penalties. Her corporate sponsorship with a regional health magazine dissolved when the editor deemed her involvement too controversial. Even her closest friends grew distant, uncertain how to reconcile her role in Cooper's marital betrayal. Many had participated in Harper's crowdfunding campaign to offset IVF costs. They now felt complicit. Back in Cedar Falls, Harper received daily updates from her attorney on the status of their lawsuits. Harper had sued Cooper for emotional distress and breach of fiduciary duty, seeking damages to cover her own therapy and the ongoing legal costs of supervised visitation enforcement. She also filed a defamation injunction to protect Lily from any public mention of the scandal. The courtroom became a battleground. Cooper's defense attorney argued that Harper had consented to the IVF treatment and that personal failings did not equate to professional misconduct. Harper's legal team countered with testimony from Ava's former roommate and clinical staff who confirmed Cooper used clinic supplies to plan dates with Ava, logged as treatment hours in official records. On the night before the preliminary injunction hearing, Cooper sat alone in a cheap motel room along Highway 22. He stared at the walls, humming the lullaby he had once sung to Lily. Soft as the petals falling, gentle as a mother's blessing, the lullaby now crushed his heart. He had sung it only a handful of times before Harper's distrust drove him back to Ava's arms, a decision that had shattered everything. He wondered whether Harper's forgiveness in co-parenting was genuine or born of necessity. In Portland, Ava attended couples therapy alone. Her therapist gently probed her motives. What did Cooper represent for you? Ava broke down. He was stability when my world felt adrift, she confessed. I thought committing to him, being there for his loneliness, was enough. I never imagined how deep their marriage bond ran. Her tears spoke volumes about guilt and grief. The therapist recommended structured restitution, public acknowledgement of her role in the scandal, a sincere apology letter to Harper, and community service supporting local women's health initiatives. On the day of the medical board hearing, Cooper wore a conservative gray suit in contrast to his formerly flamboyant blue blazers. Harper sat 2 rows behind her attorney. White-knuckled as a nurse practitioner, gave emotional testimony on how Cooper's actions had eroded patient confidence. The board's panelists, a psychiatrist, an ethics professor, and a veteran OB-GYN, asked pointed questions. Were your personal affairs conducted on clinic time? Did you leverage your medical authority to conceal these meetings? Do you believe your misconduct harmed other patients? Cooper answered in halting tones, admitting he had blurred professional boundaries. His apology rang hollow in the sterile hearing room. Ava arrived separately, scheduled for her own ethics hearing about professional sponsorship conflicts with Harper's IVF clinic. She confessed to accepting gifts from Cooper intended to influence clinic referrals. The board deemed her complicit in a dual breach, enabling Cooper's misuse of medical resources and undermining patient trust. 2 weeks later, medical orders arrived. Cooper's license would be suspended for 3 years, with required ethics retraining, supervised practice under a senior physician, and mandatory counseling on professional boundaries. Ava's professional certification, granted by the State Health Board, would be revoked for 1 year, with similar conditions for reinstatement. Neither could practice fertility medicine until they met rigorous rehabilitation standards. News outlets covered the verdicts extensively. Ex-OB-GYN suspended after high-profile IVF scandal. Clinic sponsorship star loses credential over ethical breach. The community's reaction was unforgiving. Cedar Falls Evergreen Women's Group tweeted support for Harper, while an uproar on fertility forums decried Cooper and Ava's selfishness. Harper read the headlines with a steady heart. The legal and personal retribution she sought had been delivered. Months passed. Cooper returned to Cedar Falls under probationary supervision at a rural community clinic, seeing only low-risk prenatal patients under a senior physician's watchful eye. He lived in a modest apartment near the clinic, a stark contrast to his former upscale neighborhood. His days began before sunrise, charting fetal growth and cautioning colleagues to maintain clear ethical lines. He volunteered at men's grief support groups, sharing his story as a cautionary tale. His public talks drew small audiences, some curious, most skeptical. Yet each time he spoke with humility, acknowledging the harm he caused, he chipped away at public animosity. Ava moved back to her hometown in Oregon's Willamette Valley, where she took an administrative position at a women's health nonprofit. She organized community workshops on patient advocacy and reproductive ethics, striving to repair her professional identity. Each workshop began with her personal disclosure. "I was once part of a story that hurt many, including a dear friend," she would say, voice thick with remorse. The audience, mostly women, listened, some nodding sympathetically, others with arms crossed. Over time, her sincerity yielded respect. Cooper and Ava never reconciled romantically, nor did they reunite professionally. Their affair, born of loneliness and weakened boundaries, had unraveled into a cascade of consequences neither could fully escape. Yet both found purpose in restitution. Cooper in disciplined medical practice and public speaking on ethics, Ava in grassroots advocacy. Harper, meanwhile, flourished. She published her memoir to critical acclaim, went on a national speaking tour, and founded a nonprofit scholarship for single mothers seeking IVF. Lily grew into a curious toddler who loved whales, her nursery's theme, and who referred to Cooper as Papa Cooper in clear, proud toddler lisp. Harper often photographed her daughter hugging Cooper at supervised playdates. In each photo, despite the scandal that preceded them, a genuine bond shone through. One crisp autumn morning, Cooper dropped Lily home after a visit. As Harper buckled Lily into her car seat, Cooper stood in the driveway, hands in pockets. A rare moment of stillness passed. Harper offered a polite smile.
Cooper nodded.
"Thank you for Lily," he said quietly, "for seeing me beyond my worst mistakes." Harper's eyes softened. "You've earned back a measure of trust, Cooper," she replied. "Just keep building on it." With that, Cooper climbed into his car and drove away, leaves scattering behind his tires. Ava, too, reached out in small, respectful gestures. She sent Harper a handwritten note and a donation to Harper's scholarship fund. No comment, just an acknowledgement of harm done. Harper filed the note away, recognizing it as part of Ava's atonement. As the years unfolded, Cedar Falls gradually forgot the sensational headlines. Harper's scholarship fund grew, her memoir became a staple in women's studies classes, and her nonprofit held annual Hope conferences. Cooper attended as a volunteer speaker on professional ethics. Ava facilitated workshops on patient rights. All three found themselves in the same conference rooms, never under the same roof, but united by commitment to healing the very wounds they had inflicted. In the final analysis, Cooper and Ava's affair had left deep scars, but also prompted a communal reckoning about trust, boundaries, and forgiveness. Their personal and professional lives were irrevocably altered. License suspensions, broken engagements, shattered reputations. Yet, through genuine remorse, accountability, and dedicated service, they each carved a path toward redemption. For Harper, the most meaningful outcome was not vengeance, but growth. A stable co-parenting partnership with Cooper, unexpected compassion for Ava's own journey, and the empowerment of countless women through her advocacy. Standing at Lily's high-chair side on her 5th birthday, Harper watched Cooper hand her daughter the first slice of cake. Across the room, Ava managed the guestbook table, ensuring every visitor signed the Hope and Healing wall. In that moment of shared celebration, scattered confetti under balloons of pastel teal and blush, Harper realized that the greatest consequence of betrayal was not lasting pain, but the opportunity for profound transformation. And so the story closed, not with a note of rancor, but with a tableau of flawed people united in purpose. Cooper and Ava forever marked by their mistakes, yet defined ultimately by the ways they chose to make amends. And that brings us to the end of today's story on Truistery Vibes. Don't forget to leave a comment with a quote or moment that touched you the most. Your words give our team the motivation to keep creating more heartfelt stories. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you again soon.